The Holdovers, directed by Alexander Payne, written by David Hemmingson. This film follows Pa Hunnam, played by Pa Giamatti. He's a history teacher who's overly demanding, very strict, apathetic at times towards his students. He's in charge of supervising these holdovers. The holdovers are the students in this boarding school, really rich boarding school, crazy, filthy rich kids who probably never get told no, go to the school. Millionaires, I'm talking millionaires. So he's in charge of supervising these students that have been left behind during Christmas break. So at a time that you should be with your family, likely, these kids aren't. They've been left behind, different ages too. But our main protagonist is Angus Tully. He's a junior. He's one of these holdovers. He's played by Dominic Sessa. Never heard of this guy. I looked it up later. He's never acted before. And wow. I did not know that, because from his acting, it looked like he's been acting for years. So he's this kid young man, I should say, who's very smart, but he's also rebellious, a bit of a problem causer, and he's going through a lot. I mean, face front, he's just a rich kid who's been left behind during Christmas. Already, that's a bit of abandonment, right? But there's also a lot of other things going on in his life, and the film does a great way of unraveling that. Along with these two, we have Mary. She's a school cook. And so the thing with Mary is she's a grieving mother. She lost someone really, really close to her. And in her eyes, it doesn't make sense to be really celebrating Christmas or anything of that matter, because this certain person isn't in her life anymore. Many of her scenes are accompanied by an alcohol bottle for a reason. Usually there's one close to her, because that's her coping mechanism. And she's played by the brilliant Davine Joy Randolph. Wow. One of the realest and most effective portrayals and performances of grief. And it wouldn't be right for me to say out of this world, even though in a sense it was. It was actually grounded, so realistic. It's one of those things where you look at a character and you think to yourself, I've seen that in someone, or I've seen that somewhere else. Like, that's how good it was. I was thinking throughout the film, like, wow, that was very impactful. That almost pulled me into a tear. That's how real her performance was, and it's no wonder she won an Oscar for that. So deserved. And I hope to see her in so many great roles, because she's got the chops, man. So we've got these group of three people in unfortunate circumstances who don't really want to be there, and they're forced to be there together. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is our movie. Our Christmas, family, funny, tender, bittersweet film that is a classic for me. I think a Christmas classic. I really do believe I'll be watching this film for years. If there's a way I could describe this film and the way it felt to me, it felt like a wise old man was, with a bit of a foul mouth, was sitting down with me by a porch, and he was telling me a profound story for 2 to 4 hours straight, and I was just there listening. The script is sharp, filled with witty dialogue, especially from Pa Giamatti, who delivers and does a great performance as Pa Hunnam. It's no surprise he got nominated for that Oscar. And of course, he's going back and forth with Dominic Sessa. He actually fought for him to play Angus Tully, and I'm so glad he did. And Dominic Sessa holds his own. He's great at comedy. I was constantly laughing at his performance as well. And of course, continuing my praise on the script and the whole film, but the script, man. What I like about it is it asks for your attention. It offers information. It offers you to pay attention and really understand that these little things, they are not random, and they are very purposeful. Something as simple as a static shot in the bathroom, or an old room of one of the students who has passed away, or perhaps something as quick as someone saying no to a cocktail during dinner. These are the things that make The Holdovers rich in its script. Very, very good. This film does take place in the 1970s, and the cinematography tries to mimic that feeling of those old films, right? The camera work is slow, it's steady, it's static sometimes. Well, for the most part, actually. So the movement, that's why I say it felt like a wise old man was telling me. The movement was only made if it was necessary to make it. And so that being said, you get a lot of time to breathe in the setting, which was on location. Not a single shot of this film was on a set or on a sound stage. This is on location. I believe they borrowed 4 boarding schools to film this, which was great. And it was shot during a snowstorm, so none of that snow was fake. And I'm pretty sure that really invited the actors to really get into their characters and help them out in some way. Of course, these boarding schools have very unique and grandiose architecture to them. They show it off here, and it's great. I mean, the people and the students who go into the school are the filthy rich, millionaires. These students, for the most part, have their future planned out to them, right? They have I'm going to be a CEO once I get out of high school. I'm going to go to Harvard once I get out of high school. Dad's got a huge job for me in so-and-so company. My dad just parked in the front on his helicopter. Like, these are the type of students I'm talking about, like filthy rich, going to boarding schools. And while to many of us face first, including to Paul Hunnam, who's a history teacher, it seems like these kids are spoiled to the point of no, I guess, limitations from life or no hardships from life. It's not true. Angus Tully is proof of that. That's what's beautiful about the film. These 3 characters have their own assumptions of each other that they've only seen on a shallow perspective. But the more time they spend with each other, the more depth they get into, the more they really see how alike they are, and the more they change in perspective. Paul Hunnam is strict. He's apathetic towards those students for a reason. He had a very particular bad, we'll call it, circumstance that happened involving one of them when he was younger. Angus Tully is extremely privileged, and he doesn't really value service, acts of service. He doesn't value the school cook, but he doesn't value, for example, military officers or people who sacrificed something for the country, who gave their service to the country, until he meets one, for the first time. He meets one and he realizes, like, oh, I have an arm I can catch with and you don't. It's things like that make the film really, really good. And at the same time, you could tell the writer saying a lot about appreciating these acts of service, about no matter where you come from, life doesn't discriminate from the hardships, whether you're born filthy rich or you're born from an impoverished community or a home, or no matter what skin color you might have, you're going through something, probably. And that's what the film does a good job at having the characters understand about each other. The writer, of course, also talks about nurturing the inner child, something that challenges Paul Dunham's character, right? He's very, like I said, apathetic towards his students. It's a constant theme throughout the film of these kids, or kids in general, growing up fast. Doesn't matter whether you're really rich or you're impoverished, like I had said. Doesn't matter where your background is. It's unfortunate that kids have to grow up fast and they're forced to go through that. Even Marcus's character, Mary's son, is a great example of this, right? And of course, speaking of details, we have little things like the sound effects, the diegetic and non-diegetic sound. As far as diegetic, to give you an example of how good it is and how attentionful it is, there's a scene done in the kitchen, and you hear in the dialogue throughout the whole scene the sound of a refrigerator. That constant sound, the machine working of the refrigerator, you hear it because you would hear it in real life, so you're going to hear it in the film. And it never goes away. A lot of films don't do that, but this one did. As far as the soundtrack, the story is sprinkled with acoustic ballads and Christmas songs to really fit into the emotion and the time of the story. Again, the 1970s, right after the Vietnam War. And the film score, while there's not much of it, it is usually solo pianos or woodwinds. Guys, like I said, this film is pretty good. It's a classic for Christmas for me. We'll be rewatching this maybe again this season, this Christmas season, because it's just that good. Just that good. Overall, great film. I checked it out on Peacock and then I did decide to buy it because I know I'm going to be watching it for the rest of my life. I do highly recommend you guys check this one out. One of the best of 2023. I would have had it there on my list. This is an A for me. All right, I'm going to hit the section where I give you some parental advisory. The reason why it's rated R is, for the most part, the language. There are a lot of F-bombs just kind of thrown around there. There's a very brief scene of nudity where a character is looking at a photo of a nude woman. And from what I remember, that would be it. There's no violence in this film unless you categorize a slight medical accident as violence. There is no gore in this film. No, it's not. I do recommend this, man, if you're looking for a feel-good film that's profound, can speak universally. Check it out. Go check it out, man. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.